Hello and welcome back. I am into a slight veering from the SQL tutorials and things like that, and want to get into something that's a little more complicated, but will still be dealing with databases and how we can use them and the programming and things like that. We're going to focus for this next series of stuff, and I have no idea how long this is going to take because I'm going to build out an application. This is something that's been an itch I've wanted to scratch for a while, years, and it's the idea of a database synchronizer of some sorts. You can always do backups and restores and things like that, but I want to do something that is a little bit more about the structure, much like some of the tools that are out there. Like, for example, if we've looked at our Django stuff, they have got models and you've got a way to do migrations and basically track your database there. And there's some other things I've used over the years that have similar tools. One that's an old library called Torque actually was an excellent one. You would define your database in XML, and then it could generate classes around that. It's something that's a little more targeted. And the goal here is to build this is going to be a Python application. And you'll see in the notes, I'm going to be using JetBrains, their product called PyCharm. But you can also use pretty much whatever you want. If you wanted to use like a Visual Studio Code, it's got some pretty good Python plugins. And there are definitely other IDEs out there. This just happens to be the one I'm going to be using. And our goal is going to be to create this application that essentially you can point it at one database, and it's going to look at differences between that and a database on another server. So whether there are missing tables, missing fields, field types, indexes, try to get to all of it. And we'll see how far we can go with this, because I haven't done it before. I've played around with some of these concepts, and and this is not like you would do in a Django or some of those other tools I mentioned, where you build it from scratch using this, or some of them do have some sort of a reverse engineer, but essentially where you build your database, you have some way that you model it outside of the database itself. For example, through XML files or something like that. And then you use those to generate or update or migrate your database. Instead, this is going to be point this thing at database A, point it at database B, and let's see if those things exist in both. And so this is going to be a programming experiment as well as some of the other things that we're going to get into. And we're going to be getting into, for example, we're going to get into pulling, describing tables and generating basically dynamic SQL and some things along those lines. So let's start with this first little part. There is a new project thing that PyCharm will do. And so I went ahead and did that. And it took a little bit because I threw in some libraries and things like that. I do want to have a file that is going to be, let's do show notes. And so I'm going to have a little bit of this. And I'm not sure how I want to do these, but this is going to be, let's see. It's going to be simple script. And today what we're going to do is we're just going to connect to our database. And I'm just going to connect to one that's a local kind of database. So we'll start with they give us this main.py, so we can work with that. What they give is just a print, it's a hello world. It's basically print hi, and then, they're going to call that. We're not going to worry about that. We'll leave that stuff there. We'll leave that there for now. So if I run it, if I go to terminal and I do Python 3 main, then it's just going to say, it's just a hello world. Okay, so now let's do, so we're going to connect to the source database, because we'll need two. And in order to do this, we're going to need to import a couple things. And so we'll see what we need to import. We're going to start with import MySQL, because we know that's going to be needed. And I'm probably going to import sys because I'm pretty sure that guy's going to be needed. Now, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to define connect to DB. Whoa. I don't know why he went over here. And I don't know that I need anything. I don't think I do. I don't need any parameters. So basically what I want to do is let's do my configuration. And this is some Python-ish type stuff, but to give you an idea of what we're doing. So for this, we're going to have a user. We're going to have a password. And you can probably see some of this stuff if you were to Google connect via Python to a database, particularly MySQL. So database is going to be there. And we have this thing called raise on warnings, which we just need. That guy's true. Database is going to be, oh, that's a good question. I think I have this. Oops. I don't have my SQL set up quite right on this one. So let's just go look over here. So if I want to connect here, so my database is going to be tutorial. And the host is going to be that guy. And let's see, the password. Gosh, I hope I can remember the password of these. So the username was. And so then I'm going to do return MySQL connector connect. Give it this structure. Most of the stuff you don't need to know because it's just sort of a, hey, we have this there. So I'm going to allow you, but if you want to see how Python works, there you go. So we're going to connect to it, which means we're going to do dbc or db database connection equals connect to db. And then we are going to grab a cursor. Cursor equals, see, dot cursor. And our query is going to be, let's do something simple. Let's look at our, did we go to the, yeah, we said we were going to be on the tutorial database. So we're going to go here and let's do scribe tables. Tables. And then we're going to do cursor dot execute the query. And we're going to do result, whoops. Results equals cursor dot fetch all. Most of this stuff is not going to matter too much. And then, but this gives us a start. So you can see, so for row in results, print row. And let's see what happens here. If we try to run that, then, oh, so we've got to, okay. I stepped aside for a second, had a couple of things to install. So I went in and had to install the MySQL. And in order to do that, whoop, I do this. I do history, grab pip3. So I had to do a pip3 install MySQL. Actually, the key one was I had to do, whoop. I do this. this. Throw this in the show notes. So I had to do MySQL. I also had to do that guy. And I think, did I have... I think I had one other... Nope. Maybe not. And do it here. Okay, so I think I'm good. So I had a pair of connectors I had to install. And so now what we're going to do is we've got our pair of imports. I'm connecting as tutor. My password was test123, connecting my database. I guess I can do this to just clean that up. Get some spaces out of the way. I did have a little typo earlier that I fixed. I've got raison warnings, database, host, all that goodness. And if I run it, then we're going to see here that I come in here. I'm going to connect to the server. And I'm just going to do show tables. Get the results back. And for each row, I'm going to print out the result. So each one of these, this is a row. So I could also do print row 0. I think will give me more of a collect. Yeah, so that gives me the actual string. So now I can see tables. And let me go ahead and for each of these, well, let's see, how do I want to do? Okay, so let's do it with that. So let's see the same thing. We're going to now do 3, 2, 1. I'm going to take this, basically the same thing, except for now this one we're going to do describe, let's describe address. Yeah, because I'm in the right database. And so I'm going to come through and same thing. And now here, I'm going to see, well, let's do this. Just to make it easier. Address columns. And so now if we run it, we see address columns. So here are the columns. So we're actually, we're connecting and we're doing our most basic thing, which is we've got a list of tables and we've got some columns for the table. So what we're going to do is we're going to end up adding a second connection. And this will be connect to database 2. And we're going to make him on a local host. And I'm not going to have that set up yet, so I'm going to have to go create that database and that user, but that's where we're going to be going next. So for now, this one we came in, and this is going to be, there'll be links in the show notes for this. Also, you can see pretty well what we've got. And actually, I'm going to go ahead as part of this and get rid of this little helpful stuff they've got. Let's see. We'll get rid of that. And we're going to come back and we're going to start building some of these things out a little bit more next time around. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a table compare. So we've just, we've played around with it here, but this will be our first one. Will be that we're going to come in, we're going to start looking at that. But I think this is a good time to wrap this one up. So go out there and have yourself a great day, a great week, and we will talk to you next time.